All right, MrSotko here, and welcome back to another Company Heroes 2 replay cast. And today it is a 2 vs 2 on Crossing in the Woods. And up north, we have our OKW player, Crossfire, our pink Wehrmacht player, momo4sho, our yellow Russian player, Griezell, and our blue U.S. Forces player, evalance. So it's all four military nations here on Crossing in the Woods. So for our U.S. Forces player, we have the Echelon troops moving right out, taking the very first territory point. And for our Axis players, we have the Schwerer Wehrmacht Schlepper moving over to the left side here. And the Engineers were taking this territory point. Yep, and they're going to stay there and take that. And the OKW player is moving off to the right side. He does have a Kubel wagon out first. He's going to take some stuff with his Stern Pioneers. But he's going to set this Kubel wagon up to suppress any troops that are coming through here. And it looks like it may be these conscripts soon enough, but they may take this territory point first. Engineers took the territory point right outside the Russian base and got to head right to the center. So nobody really heading to the center yet. Everybody just heading to their respective sides, trying to get a good defensive position on the left and right. Engineers taking the territory point here and going to set up a heavy machine gun to stop any of the advance of the U.S. forces here. The rear echelon troops are making some tank traps here so that they have some pretty good cover right in front of the victory point. And as you can hide behind these, and you have excellent cover behind them. Engineers taking the munitions point on the right side here, and these conscripts are in trouble. They're getting suppressed here. An incoming Stern Pioneer, so if these Stern Pioneers make it up to them before they retreat, they're going to do some real big damage to them with their submachine guns, or assault rifles rather. The SDG is not necessarily a submachine gun. Rear echelon troops and riflemen here are going to battle it out with these grenadiers, but they're pretty much at max range. Riflemen are just a little bit too far, and these riflemen have pretty good cover behind these tank traps here. And that's exactly why he made them. They're going to put a fighting position right behind that. So even though the Germans are going to get this, I don't think they're going to have it for long, as the U.S. forces have a superior defensive position developing on that side. However, the right side is completely owned by the OKW, as he has a better defensive position on the right side with the Kubel wagon. However, setting up at Maxim, and the Maxim typically beats out the Kubel wagon. Engineers got to run from those Stern Pioneers. A little bit too much damage from those Stern Pioneers. Back on the right side with the MG42. It's trying to set up in a good position to stop these troops from moving. And it now is going to suppress these riflemen in a quick hurry here. But they're going to try and get out of there. They might be able to crawl out of there just in time. Riflemen battling out with grenadiers all the way across from each other here. Both sides trying to hunker down, but the German players here over here, the Wehrmacht, really doesn't have anything to hide behind, as the U.S. forces had a better position right off the bat with that fighting position and those tank traps. Now on the right side, the OKW player forcing away the Russians here, doing a pretty good job of holding off this right side, forcing them away with that Kubel wagon. Now battle going on over here on the left side on the field point. And these riflemen battling out with these engineers here, and they're going to really waste them pretty quick because of those rear echelon troops as well. Now these riflemen battling out with grenadiers, but they're pretty far from each other, and the riflemen just have superior cover, so it's just the Wehrmacht is having a very hard time over here, but yet he still holds the victory point, strangely enough, as this MG42 is doing a really good job in holding that. However, rear echelon troops going around the side now, so he's going to have to pick that up and take that back, reset that up. Stern Pioneers inside this building here. About to get burned out by these engineers. However, these Stern Pioneers do really great damage, so, but going to get out immediately there, as there's way too many forces coming around. MG40, just a machine gun of the Maxim, pinning those Volksgrenadiers. Now they're going to have to get those out of there as well. So now trying to force them back away from the Russian position here. Now taking the munitions point and going to force away these Volksgrenadiers and Stern Pioneers, but that's going to take just a little bit of work. Riflemen, and now we have Pathfinders for the U.S. forces. Still just guarding the side here, but nobody can really get to this point, as each side has a machine gun. So the Wehrmacht got this first, and that means they're going to hold it for a while because of those machine guns are going to stop the advance from any troops. Flamethrower chasing away those Stern Pioneers. There are only two left in that squad and a very small sliver of health, so could easily lose that whole squad. Gonna have to just retreat that out of there. Now trying to flame out these Volksgrenadiers here, and they are in negative cover, and they're being shot up by multiple conscripts here. These conscripts here are suppressed, so they are firing much slower. Now going to set up the Maxim against this Kubel wagon, but getting flanked over here on the side from Volksgrenadiers at the same time. So that's not going to work out too well. May even have to run that out of there, as they can throw a grenade on it if he has enough of the munitions to do that. No, it looks like he does not. Oh, he does not. He actually doesn't have the tech to use that grenade. My bad there. But he does have the munitions to do that. Just doesn't have the tech available to do that. Pathfinder's sent behind this well here in really good cover. Should have stayed behind that cover against those grenadiers there. Can hold out a little bit longer. Now going to be taking the right side victory point for the allies. And we'll see how long they can hold this out. And going to set up this machine gun here. Now going to position it right here for any troops that are coming around this way. Should have another machine gun. I'd like to see another machine gun maybe facing this way as well. That would cover the area pretty well. Rear echelon troops, they do have that mine detector just in case there's any minefields out on the map, but I see none. But better get it early because of you can't put those teller mines around early on in the game for the later game. So if you can catch those earlier on, you sort of waste the enemy's munitions by taking those out. 2 riflemen up front here, right in front of the Wehrmacht base. And so they're kind of in trouble, as there was a machine gun firing at them, and they were sandwiched, but the machine gun was chased off by these riflemen here as it was faced the wrong way. Now a scout car coming out and chasing away all these riflemen. If you can get one rifleman to a 1 veteran seat at the very least, he can use those anti-tank grenades, but he needs that veterancy first, and now he does have that veterancy, so he can use it on this particular rifleman here. Rear echelon troops also firing at this scout car and can take it out eventually, but as you can see, most of the bullets just sort of ping off. Gonna have to retreat these out of here very soon. Munitions almost getting capped. It looks like he wants to cap that just before he gets out of there, and retreats just as he caps that, so that his enemy actually has to neutralize that, then retake that. So it does take him a little bit of time to do that. MG is set up here, and it's getting hard flanked here by some Sturm Pioneers and Volksgrenadiers, and may not make it out of there as it in negative cover and taking big damage. I'm surprised he didn't actually lose another troop on the way out of there. Now we have a ZIS, and it looks like that Kubelwagen took a ZIS hit, and I'm really surprised that Kubelwagen didn't explode in 1 hit, as it is simply a car against an anti-tank cannon. Must have been a slightly unlucky hit for the Russian player there. Now we have a captain up here with the Pathfinders, and that's a pretty good idea. Pretty good to have that nice and early, that captain, against that scout car with the 2 bazookas in that squad. The middle victory point owned by the Axis, and looks like it's going to be taken back by the Americans, as there's really nothing around here to stop them from doing that. Pathfinders battling out here, and they were suppressed for a moment there, and getting some pretty good far range pop shots on him. And now the captain is up here and hitting them with bazookas here, but the bazookas don't typically do all that much to troops, so he's got a fight on his hands up there. Now going to take this middle victory point, and if he can hold all 3 of these, the allies here will have all 3 victory points, which will take the Russians down, or excuse me, the Germans down very quickly. 2 riflemen are trying to chase those engineers. I figure they could continue up that way and chase those engineers out of there, but they're looking to get to this fuel point here. It seems a little bit more important to them. MG has set up here, and there's a lot of troops right in the MG's way. However, this MG is in negative cover, so it's just going to be taking big damage from all of these troops here. Needs to move that back just a little bit, or a little bit forward for that matter. And at least it is not in negative cover. It has no cover, but at the very least, not in negative cover. Gonna probably lose that MG as he's only down to 1 troop. He'll be lucky if he can get it out of there with a little bit of focus fire. Probably could have taken out that MG there. Now going to be running away this ZIS here. ZIS is sort of in trouble, trying to get away. And these Volksgrenadiers trying to focus down that MG there, as it is a 2-star MG, so not too bad. And now going to be aiming at these conscripts here to try and get an additional kill on the way out. Now all the Russian troops have to retreat out of there, so the OKW is going to take that victory point on the right side back. MG42 is set up across here still. And we also have the fighting position machine gun set up here as well, so neither side is really able to get in here all that well. The Germans over here are a little bit more vulnerable, as it's sort of easier to flank this MG as it is the fighting position. But now bringing up a PaK-40 and aiming it at this fighting position. This fighting position will go down in just about 3 hits. 3 actual hits and not misses there. And a very early Stuka out on the field, a 9-minute Stuka, so it's pretty early there, and fired on these troops over here, and I didn't really see exactly what it got. It looks like it fired in the base, perhaps, yeah, and it took out quite a bit, and we can check its kills just to see. It got 7 kills, so not too bad on that Stuka. As typically with these rocket launching vehicles like the Katusha or the Stuka or the Panzerwerfer, you definitely want to kill enough troops to actually pay back for that unit that you buy. And I suppose that's generally the how you would want to do it with any unit, but particularly with the rocket launching vehicles and snipers, you really want to kill enough units to pay back for that sniper or rocket vehicle. So there's not necessarily a waste of money. Now a 50 cal out on the field. The 50 cal is a pretty good arc of fire. We have some engineers in this building here with flamethrowers, and it looks like just barely in the arc of that gun it was able to fire at that building. Now on the right side here, a T-70 out for the Russian player, and moving up that 2-star machine gun. However, there's some Volksgrenadiers right here that are just going to easily be able to flank that or throw a grenade right on that MG. As soon as he realizes that MG is there, he could probably throw out a grenade. The fuel point is slightly undefended here, so troops can easily come around all the way over here without too much resistance. Also a 75mm pack howitzer for this U.S. Forces player as well. However, we have some Volksgrenadiers that are coming around the side here and flanking this howitzer, so he definitely needs some help here. I would like to see him throw a grenade on this, which should do pretty big damage. Indeed, he's going to throw that grenade on there. Not going to be able to move that howitzer out of there in time, and decrews that howitzer, rather. Now the Russians trying to take back this right side victory point. The middle victory point still belonging to the Allies, and really hasn't been contested at all. And going to take it back. However, these conscripts moved out of the field there. Could have neutralized it if they stayed in there just a little bit longer. Kubelwagen all the way in the back. A 2-star Kubelwagen suppressing these troops, pinning these troops here. So big problems for these conscripts. It looks like they do have the PPSH submachine guns. So that means that 3 of those conscripts have PPSH, which increases their damage a little bit in short range. But it is sort of it's sort of hard to figure out if it's actually good or not for me, because with 3 of your conscripts being long range and then 3 of your conscripts being short range, if you begin a battle long range, that means you have even less firepower because you only have 3 rifles. So it's sort of a double-edged sword, really, that PPSH package. Is that when you're fighting at long range, it actually reduces your long-range power, which sort of what makes conscripts pretty good in the first place. 50 cal machine gun being set up here, and I hear some missiles coming down, and looks like that Stuka barrage is going to be trying to hit these troops, and it doesn't look like it was very successful. Maybe taking out that one captain. I'm not really sure on that. I'll have to check the Stuka here. Still only 7 kills. I believe that was the Stuka that aimed at it. For the Wehrmacht player, we just have this half-track here, and the half-track's weapon is broken. Was taken out by something or other. And Ostruppen coming out now for the Wehrmacht. And not a very good Ostruppen call-in. Not the worst you could possibly have, but only a 1-star and an LMG on one of them. So not too bad. Pretty mediocre. And we have a surrender noob. And U.S. forces pushing in on this Wehrmacht here. And the Wehrmacht really can't do anything about it right now. He needs to bring all these grenadiers over here, but he has to reinforce them first. And he just doesn't have the money to do that. You can see that he's very low on resources, on manpower at the moment, so he's just struggling to get every troop out. And that Pack 40 was moving up, but that was a big mistake. Decrews that Pack 40. Could recrew that Pack 40 with these Ostruppen, but then he's just going to have to replace the 3 Ostruppen and the 3, or the 1 additional from the pack there. So we're going to recrew this with these. So we're going to have to gain 1 more, and then he's going to have to replace these 3 engineers as well. So that did cost him, indeed, even recrewing that. Russians now taking the right side victory point, which is going to leave the Russians with all 3 victory points. The Allies, rather, because there is the U.S. forces on there as well. And they will have all 3 victory points, which will be taking the Wehrmacht's score down very, very quickly. And I suppose both of them are technically the Wehrmacht. But one is the OKW and one is the Wehrmacht, or the Ostier, which some people refer to them as. And I never really refer to them as that personally, because the Wehrmacht was the Wehrmacht, both the army, either way. Very complicated structure. We have the tactical map there. Kubelwagen still alive here, and I'm actually kind of surprised how long he's kept this Kubelwagen around. It's a 2-star, nearly a 3-star Kubelwagen. And these conscripts here are trying to make sandbags here, and I'm surprised they're not pinned already. Stuka barrage coming down, hitting this group right here. Took a few troops out. Didn't do as much as he'd want that to do. Definitely wanted to just clear out all those troops entirely. Shock troops moving up, but they're moving up into a lot of pain here, as there's just so much damage coming down on him. They're gonna have to get out of there very, very quickly. And if he doesn't get out of there soon enough, he's gonna lose his shock troop, which would be a big loss for the Russians, as they cost 390 and a lot to reinforce them as well. Now lots of troops all the way back at the Axis base here, and it looks like both sides have been forced all the way back. As you can see, none of the Germans are really out in the field, except for this middle here. These engineers have made a minefield here to stop any kind of advance. And going to take this victory point for the Germans. And so now one of either the U.S. forces or the Russians are going to have to come up here with a mine detector and clear that out. Either that or bring over a medium tank and just sort of run right through that and take out those mines. Engineers making some TM-35 mines here. And oop, that fire wasn't going to set them off. I'm not sure if fire actually sets off mines or not. But you can actually have the mines get set off in your face. Like as soon as you're done placing them, say a tank shoots your engineers right here, that mine can go off. It will kill your engineers. Looks like a dynamite actually blew up there and took out an entire squad. Unfortunately, I didn't see that, but that definitely looks like a dynamite crater. The demolition charge for the Russian engineer, and it looks like it blew up an entire squad there. Yeah, indeed, it was. We have another one trying to detonate here, and that detonated early. I'm not sure if that was actually struck by something or if the Russian did that on accident. If he did it on purpose, that was definitely not the proper way to do that, as there was nothing around it. Now all these troops are going to have to retreat out of there very quickly, as there is so much firepower. Taking out those conscripts there. U.S. forces up top here and trying to battle it out with this command tank, hitting it with the captain's bazookas here, and I don't think he's going to be able to take it out. Now going to have to retreat out of there before he's even able to fire once more. Paratroopers up here trying to take this territory point that's right in front of the Axis base, and if they take that, that's going to slow the Axis down a little bit. He's going to have to set some troops on here, neutralize it, then take it back. So either way, he did good. Even though he's not going to hold on to this for very long, it does slow your opponent down. MG42 is using armor-piercing rounds, which do huge damage to troops. And so these are pinned, and now going to be taking huge damage really soon here. A Stuka barrage comes through, takes out a bunch of troops along the way. I'd like to see how much this Stuka has now. 21 kills on that Stuka. 1 star, but 21 kills. More than paid for itself by now. Left side totally empty. Nothing really to contest it. Left side victory point, middle victory point, and the right side victory point all belonging to the U.S. forces here. So the Germans are in pretty big trouble if they don't start taking back some of these as soon as possible. The Maxim is now a 3-star maximum, so not too bad. A 3-star machine gun, always good to have. Rifle grenade comes right down on that Maxim, does virtually nothing. Just a little sliver of health taken away. So that was very disappointing for the German player, for momo4sho, launching that. You definitely hoped that he would take that out, or at least a few of the troops. Rear echelon troops hiding behind these tank traps here. And they do have good cover. However, the LMGs were taking them out pretty quickly. But now the pack howitzer forces away those grenadiers. Panzer IV command tank, you see these all the time in 1 vs 1 and 2 vs 2. As they're so easy to get with the mobile defense doctrine. And again, for anybody that doesn't know, it has about half the damage of a Panzer IV non-command tank, that is, and about 55 penetration, which is much less penetration than the Panzer IV as well. But it has that short barrel, so it's actually very good against troops and moderately good against tanks as well. So it's a very useful tank. As you can see, it typically will take out some troops every other hit. So far, no good, but usually is pretty good. Grenadiers now taking the territory point here. Could go forward here and start taking the victory point back. However, there's some Pathfinders behind some pretty good cover over there, so that's going to be a little bit tough one. Puma out on the field as well. So Puma and a Panzer IV command tank, both call-ins from the mobile defense doctrine. Score so far, 158 for the Wehrmacht and the Axis in general, the Germans, and 410 for the Allies. Now indeed taking this over with these grenadiers here, launching a rifle grenade at those Pathfinders. Didn't do a lot, but did force the retreat, so that's all he needed. now taking the fuel point as well, also taking the center victory point, so lots being taken out, also taking the munitions point, so a big push, spreading his troops out. Indeed, that's exactly what you got to do, spread your troops out, one on each one of these, and take them out all at once from your opponents. Pack howitzer being chased by the command tank here, and it will get away. However, the Sherman is now coming in. They're going to try and get a shot on this command tank. Won't destroy it, as there's a little bit too much in his way. And he went for the middle there. Now another Stuka barrage. Looks like it's going to be coming towards the base here, trying to get some troops as they're reinforcing, but not going to get anybody here. So a launch, but a miss there. The Sherman is damaged. The engine on it is damaged, and now it is desperately trying to get away from this Puma and this command tank, launching some artillery here to try and stop this, try and force them away. Puma using smoke to get out of there. Su-85 hits that Puma, and then the rocket strafe, my bad, goes through there and takes out that Puma. So a pretty good U.S. forces play there. Now all the U.S. forces troops just blobbing over on this side and just going to force back all of this right side here, back from the Germans. A new Puma out on the field for the Wehrmacht, as you can build just a Puma any time for the most part, as they're very, very cheap. 270 manpower and 80 fuel to bring one out, so you pretty much always have that. Now an Su-85. Ooh, 2 misses from that Su-85, so very unlucky Su-85 there. Could have done some big damage. 2 shots on that Puma either could have killed it or took it down to very, very low health. Pack 40's out on the field as well. Got to push that back from these shock troops. 2 shock troops moving forward. Should throw some smoke and stop that MG from firing on him. Now, indeed, spreading out his forces, taking some of this area here. I'd like to see him take all of this. This center is being defended by some Ostrup and was being defended by those Volksgrenadiers, but they are now in retreat. So now the Axis trying to turn this back around here. And moving forward here against these shock troops, but these shock troops going to take this munitions point first. And Su-85 and a T-34 is set up down here in case any armor rolls back up on that area. Pathfinders battling out with these Grenadiers here. The Grenadiers are focused on the rear echelon troops, and good thing because those Pathfinders were in negative cover. Rear echelon troops now going to be having to run away as soon as possible here from these 2 Grenadiers with LMGs, 1 3-star, 1 2-star. So definitely got to get it out of there very quickly. Captain now moving up. Going to move right up on these Grenadiers, and 2 squads of riflemen and a 3rd squad of riflemen moving at them. Going to have to retreat out of there as soon as possible. Going to take all this area back now from the Germans. A Jagdpanzer now moving forward. Going to be moving right at this T-34. It's going to take another hit directly in the front and did big damage. Looks like it took a hit from the Pack and the Jagdpanzer at the same time, so he lost that T-34. Big loss for the Russians there. Now moving in his Puma and his command tank. However, the Su-85 hits that Puma right in the frontal armor, takes a decent-sized chunk out of it. Probably wanted to do a little bit more damage than that. New T-34 is out for the Russian player here, so he is all back up to where he was. A Sherman now trying to flank to the side there. Looks like it tried to get a hit on that Puma, but I don't think he was successful in doing that. Now the Sherman is very damaged, so he's going to have to back that out of there sometime soon, as this Pack 40 is looming over here, but getting pushed back by these riflemen. So all kinds of chaos now going over here, all kinds of strafes going on. And all these troops are in retreat. They're all moving back this way because of all that air power that was flying through. We also have a Maxim trying to push up this way. That 3-star Maxim still out on the field. 14 kills for that Maxim. So a very good machine gun crew. Center is being taken back by the Wehrmacht, by a Ostrup and a Grenadier there in the center. And the T-34 and Su-85 are definitely holding out against all these troops here. These Jaeger light infantry not really able to do much against armor. It looks like that T-34 took a hit to the rear by that Pack. Or maybe perhaps it missed. There is a little sliver of health missing out of that T-34. Wehrmacht also taking the left side victory point and the munitions, so going to have to push them back with these U.S. forces here. He's just reinforcing and healing up before he moves out again. Now going to take the middle with this MG crew here, so this lonely MG. Going to suppress these engineers here. So a very good spot for that MG at the moment. And it is a 3-star, so its suppression is very good, so instantly suppressing those troops. Shock troops trying to push forward here. I'd like to see them throw grenades, but they are pinned now. So only if they're in range are they going to be able to throw those grenades. Nope, probably just going to have to get out of there. Nope, going to be able to get up, actually retreating. I think he would have been able to get up and would have been fine to actually walk away, but decided to retreat out of there. Didn't want to take any chances. Jagdpanzer and Pack 40 looming in the back there. Can't really move up any armor against that until he goes ahead and takes that out. Could flank up this way and go around the back with some troops. And then that would allow him to bring up his armor. Needs to repair this T-34, and it is very, very damaged. So that's going to take quite a while to repair that. Pack Howitzer now up front here, going to be firing at some troops. Maxim is in big trouble here. Needs to just retreat out of there. Lots of grenades going off around him. But makes it out of there. It's a 3-star, very hard to kill that. U.S. forces over here with a machine gun here to cover this area. Could push it up a little bit, get that territory point off the Germans. Volksgrenadiers with a Panzerschreck. Don't really want to move up on that. Takes a hit from that Panzerschreck, does a little bit of damage. Not too much damage. It's just one Panzerschreck, but still will take you down eventually. And you don't want to take unnecessary damage, so you're just going to have to repair that damage, which takes time. Germans now moving right up to the Russians' face here, and going to be taking this munitions point from them. And also going to be moving up some of his anti-armor. His Jagdpanzer, his Pack 40, also bringing up an Ostwind to chase away these paratroopers there. A Katusha out on the field for our yellow Russian player. And landed right up there. It looks like he barraged very close. All those missiles hitting in the very same spot. But missing the majority of all the units. Got 8 kills on it. Riflemen battling out with these Germans over here, but not enough to contest these U.S. forces here. Gonna take back that victory point. We have some Volksgrenadiers coming back, but they're not gonna be able to do anything really against these riflemen, as they have really great cover back here. They're gonna be able to throw some grenades, but I'm not sure if that's gonna do too much. Oh, actually does quite a bit. Takes out a couple there and takes out a lot of the health of that group there. Sherman now moving up against this Ostwind. There's some Volksgrenadiers with Panzerschrecks. Hits that front armor of that Sherman with a Panzerschreck. Does a sliver of damage, but this Volksgrenadier isn't going to last too long. A grenade coming down on him and takes it out. Actually, that Sherman hit it before that grenade went off and took out that whole squad with one hit. A very lucky hit on that Sherman. Very unlucky for the Germans. 2 Pumas out for the Wehrmacht and the Panzer IV command tank. So big armor out for the Wehrmacht there. And a Jagdpanzer also up front as well. So really the Russian armor that he has out is really no match for this armor that the Wehrmacht and the OKW have out over here. As he has a Pack, two Pumas, a Panzer IV, and that Jagdpanzer belonging to the OKW. So lots of armor power over there on the right. Ostrop going to be moving towards this victory point here. Going to try and take that back, but I think the U.S. forces are going to react as quickly as possible to that. Yep, moving right up on these Ostropen. The Ostropen can Panzerfaust. But it will hit it sort of pretty much in the frontal armor, which won't do too much. May damage the engine at best. Puma's now moving right up on the Allies' base here, but there's a Jackson tank destroyer out, and this T-34 is going to run right into this, damaging them both, destroying both of them. But that T-34 was very, very low on health, so did more damage to that Puma than the Puma did to the T-34, I guess. Jagdpanzer now up in the front, but there's nothing really that the... Oh, indeed, there is a Sherman here for the Jagdpanzer to battle it out with. And that Jagdpanzer is going to take a shot at that Sherman, but misses, hits right over here. And goes ahead and retreats it all the way back. This captain is moving right up at it, and the captain needs to just go ahead and actually use its abilities, but its bazookas, but isn't really able to get a shot off and just has to retreat out of there before he's able to do that. This MG was in trouble, retreated it out of there before it was destroyed. Right side victory point belonging to the Axis. So far, the Germans at 96 and the Allies at 295. Half-track moving in. It doesn't have those dual flamethrowers on it. Can chase away infantry very quickly. And now taking the left side of the map here with a couple of troops from the Germans here. We have some Volksgrenadiers over here taking this fuel point, and they're going to hit this Sherman right in the rear armor with a Panzerschreck, so did a little bit of additional damage. Now going to take this middle victory point. However, the Russians taking the right side victory point at the same time there, so sort of nullifying that out. Just going to neutralize that, but I'm not sure if he's going to be able to take it or not, as the as some troops are going to be merging on this eventually. There is a pack howitzer up there as well. Now, repairing his Sherman here, and at the same time taking this fuel point. Pathfinder's up here defending this area, and this captain's going to be battling out with these grenadiers, but with the help of that pack howitzer, and just down to one grenadier there, and he's in trouble for sure. And goes ahead and backs off, doesn't want to get hit by his own pack howitzer there. A Katyusha barrage incoming once more, hitting this base full on. All these troops got to have to get out of there. And it doesn't look like he got too much out of that. Did some damage to the vehicles, just a little bit, but not too big of a deal for the Germans there. Just 15 kills on that Katyusha. Now a large German force moving down, going to be taking this right side victory point once more, forcing away all these troops here. And loses that conscript. Another big loss for the Russians there. Doesn't have too many troops remaining on the map, as he doesn't have any more manpower income to make a lot more. The U.S. Forces player floating on a lot of manpower there, and so is the OKW player floating at about 430 there. So both of those members have quite a bit of manpower resources, but their allies, fellow allies, actually have about the same amount here, which is a very low amount. Grenadier's going to have to run away. There's way too many forces over here. It's these riflemen, and also that 50 cal was firing on them as well. Now the Sherman is moving up at the German base here, and it's going to try and get a couple of kills while these units are in retreat. Right side is just totally covered in Germans now. And bringing up his shock troops, throwing a grenade on this, and doesn't do as much damage as he wanted to do, but it is a negative cover, so I don't think he's going to be able to make it out of here, but they're suppressed, so they're firing very slowly. Might actually make it out of there because of that. And the pack howitzer was decrewed, looks like, by this grenadier and the half-track with a flamethrower on it. Now shock troops moving up onto this right side victory point, going to try and contest that, neutralize that out. Middle victory point belonging to the Germans. Right side, or left side victory point going to be possibly belonging to the Germans if these Stern Pioneers can hold out against the suppression of this 50 cal. And they neutralized it at the very least, but they're going to have to get out of there. That's the best they could do right there. And there is a spotting scope out on the field for the OKW here, and it's just spotting all of the area around here. Any troops that are moving up, he sees that. And these riflemen are moving up on these troops here. And it looks like they're aiming for this grenadier group. They're trying to finish that off. But they have to retreat as that Ostwind comes around. That Ostwind was in bad shape. Instead of retreating, I would have liked to see him use an anti-tank grenade at that Ostwind. It would have finished it off. 2 Su-85 for the Russian player on the right side here, guarding his right side and guarding his Katyusha over here as well, preventing any armor from rushing it. Ostrup and trying to force away these shock troops and actually doing a pretty good job of it. Stuka coming down on all of this U.S. forces here, destroys that ambulance and took out a few troops there. I'd like to see how many kills this Stuka has. A total of 25 kills, a 2-star Stuka. Not too bad there. Puma now trying to move forward on this Jackson tank destroyer, but just not enough for that Jackson there, as he takes a few shots from its superior damage and loses his Puma. But again, not a very big loss for the Wehrmacht to lose a Puma, as they are easily replaced. And somebody's saying the game is over, but the Germans are taking the left side victory point, and looks like the right side victory point as well, so it's not over yet, as I've seen some comebacks better than this. So you never know in the world of Company Heroes 2. Captain battling out with these Jaeger light infantry, and these riflemen just pushing them right out of there. And now some Volksgrenadiers, 5-star Volksgrenadiers to be coming forward, except they're not going to be enough for this captain and 2 rifleman squads that are all maximum veterancy. So they're going to fall pretty quickly. A Rakettenwerfer up here as well is going to get spotted sooner or later. Going to have to get that out of there. Jagdpanzer getting shot by 2 Su-85 at once here. May lose that, loses his Jagdpanzer. A fairly big loss for that OKW. Didn't really want to lose that. It's about 125 fuel, I believe, to get a Jagdpanzer, so it's a good chunk of fuel to bring another one of those into play. Now another Ostwind coming in for the Wehrmacht here. Actually, it's an OKW Ostwind. Moving on to the left side here, trying to force away some of these troops. And he's coming very quickly here, going right for these troops. Now the U.S. Allies here are trying to get this right side victory point, but I'm not sure if they're going to be able to do that. Now going to try and get the center victory point as well. Stuka barrage coming down. Looks like it's going to come down right on these troops here. Oh, and they run into it. They actually retreat right into it. Unfortunate for them. They lose a rifleman and almost lost that captain as well. Jackson tank destroyer coming right after this Ostwind here. It does pretty big damage. Didn't do enough. Hit it sort of in the side too. It really didn't do enough damage. Right side victory point belongs to the Allies here, but it's going to get quickly taken back by the Russians, or by the Germans, that is. And now the Grenadiers are going to take this center victory point as well. It doesn't look like there's anything to contest this, so they may take that. Panzer IV now moving up to try and contest these Su-85, but that's really not going to be able to cut it. And this left side victory point is still neutralized. Doesn't really have enough to bring up here. But all sides very low on troops here. As you can see, the Russian troops very low. And the U.S. forces doesn't have too... Well, he has quite a bit. But both sides running low on manpower here. And we'll see how this works out in the end. As towards the end of the game, you really need to conserve your troops, as they're all high veterancy typically. And if you lose that, then it's going to take just that much longer to get a new high veterancy troop. Hitting that Ostwind with a couple bazooka shots, but didn't do too much there. I'm going to have to retreat out of there now. Jackson firing at this Panzer IV, and looks like it may have hit it, but just did a sliver of damage. Hit it again there. Now, Su-85's hitting it from the side here. That is a 3-star Su-5, so not bad. And that Panzer IV is in trouble there. It looks like he ground fired through that smoke. Good old ground fire. If you didn't know, in smoke you cannot fire into smoke, as you cannot see your opponent. However, you can hit the G button and just go ahead and ground fire where you think that tank is, and it will still hit that tank as long as you hit directly at that. So it's a very good way to hit a tank through cover and smoke and things like that. This Puma is trying to come around, going to try and get a flank on these Su-85 here, and the Su-85's in trouble. Both of them very low on health. And just one more shot on that Su-85 there. It's going to lose that. He doesn't really have a way out of this situation. And he's going to try and turn this Su-85, but going to get juked out by that Puma. And he will lose this Su-85. And loses that Su-85, so 2 Su-85s lost. However, this one is just simply abandoned, so not too big of a deal. But if I were this Puma, I would hit this Su-85 just so that it is completely destroyed. And also abandons that Katyusha too, so big losses for the Russian here. It's going to have to replace all that. Going to have to recrew that. U.S. forces trying to take back the center here. They do own the center, but they need to defend it from these Germans. And the left side is being taken by some Germans here. Some Jaeger Light Infantry, 2 squads of Jaeger Light Infantry. Going to be battling out with one Pathfinder and 1 Rifleman here, but it's a fresh Rifleman with no veterancy. Going to bring over the Jackson Tank Destroyer to assist a little bit in some of that damage. Did replace that Katyusha. However, that Katyusha is in bad shape. It has 0 kills, so this must be a relatively new Katyusha. So the Rifleman lost out to those Jaeger Light Infantry. He just ran both troops in there and lost them both to those Jaeger Light Infantry. Must have not have been watching, and so that's a pretty big loss. Katyusha's coming down in the center there, chasing away those troops, and killed some troops too. Got 8 kills, actually got 8 total kills just from that one launch there. So very good launch. Now the Stuka's coming in, and it is plotting on something. We'll see where it's going to land here. It looks like it's probably going to land somewhere around here on all these troops. I'm sure that's where he would like it to land. And indeed landed right on the U.S. forces base, going right up the center, and took out the Katyusha. It looks like maybe 1 or 2 troops there, so big losses. Again, now the main gun is destroyed on that Stuka though, so it cannot defend itself against these incoming shock troops. And it takes another shot from that long-range Jackson Tank Destroyer, and that was a very long-range shot. I think that Jackson was about right here when it shot. Now the Spotlight is trying to move back so it does not get caught out as well. And Ostwind over here trying to battle it out with these conscripts, and they're doing huge damage to him. And the conscripts looked like they launched an anti-tank grenade. Nope, actually got hit by that Su-76. that half-track in the back, and now this Su-85 is in trouble once more from this Puma, and the Puma is just simply faster than the Su-85. You can see this Su-85 is done. Getting finished off by that Pack 40 there. Jackson Tank Destroyer trying to run away from these troops here, but none of them can really effectively deal with the Jackson. So it's just going to have a good time just blasting away on these troops. And now the right side victory point is taken by the Germans. The middle victory point will be taken by the Germans as well very soon. And the left side owned by the Allies, but for how long, we don't know. The Germans only having 4 points left, so all they need to do is just capture a point. That's all they should be focusing on, just capture a point. Jackson Tank Destroyer facing its side armor at this Puma. We'll see who loses this. And actually, the Jackson Tank Destroyer lost that. It looks like it got hit by a Pack at the same time. I think this Pack may have hit it at the same time as that Puma there. So it took 2 shots at about half health. Couldn't take that. Neither side of the Allies having any armor now, so they're in big trouble. And they may not be able to take these 4 resources back from the Germans. Now these paratroopers going right after these grenadiers here are going to try and finish those off, but not going to be able to. Going to have to retreat out of there and going to take this munitions point back. The Jagdpanzer is now back for the OKW in repairing that Ostwind, so that will soon be back on the field. This Ostwind is damaged a little bit, the engine on it, but not a big deal, as there's really nothing to damage it even further except for perhaps anti-tank grenades. But that will not finish off the Ostwind. You would have to throw a good 4 or 5 of them to destroy that Ostwind. Paratroopers in big trouble here. Lots of Ostruppen and this Grenadier here going to chase him out of there. And this Grenadier's in trouble. Going to have to retreat that out of there as well. Now 2 Riflemen and these Pathfinders probably going to chase away these Ostruppen here. Going to take this back. Going to at least neutralize it. And the left side does belong to the U.S. forces. However, he's trying to keep that at all costs. So he has to keep these Ostruppen in here. And he brought the Ostwind down here now. In big trouble because of this Ostwind. It's going to be just hammering away on these Riflemen. Loses that Rifleman squad. Another big loss. Can't really afford to do that. Now bringing in huge reinforcements over to this area. He must hold this at all costs. He cannot let the U.S. forces get this, or they will lose, as they only have 4 command points, 4 points left rather, or they will lose the game. But they do take that back, successfully push back the Allies here. They should all both of them bring all of their forces into the middle and do whatever they can to take that back, or at least the right side, either way. Now the Germans all going over to the left side here, using sprint to get all the way over here as fast as possible at this victory point. They're now trying to turn the game around, and indeed definitely doing that. Going to own all 3 victory points very soon, which will take the U.S. forces down very quickly. And lots set up over here. We have a Pack 40 and a Rakettenwerfer, so any armor that goes through there, but I don't think they're going to be bringing out any armor anytime soon. Evalance has quite the fuel, and he should be using that for armor, but isn't really doing that. He's floating a lot of fuel. He has to use all of his munitions on reinforcing his troops. And the left side has been taken by the Germans, now trying to get over to the left side fuel point as well. But I'm not sure how long, if they're going to be able to hold that or not, because lots of forces are coming over there to defend this area. And it looks like both sides are coming over here to take this victory point. Then I'm assuming they will move to the center should they take this victory point here. Puma now over here, and an Ostwind also coming as well. And these Ostwinds, just the anti-infantry, just going to force all these infantry out of here. We'll throw an anti-tank grenade and damages the engine, but that's all he's going to be able to do to it. Now all he has to do is just simply back this Ostwind all the way out and go ahead and repair that. Battling out here, not sure if they're going to be able to take this or not, as these conscripts are going to have to run out of here very soon, so he's going to have to replace this with these Pathfinders. These Pathfinders are going to have to get up there. And the conscripts actually run out of there, and it re-neutralizes back to 0, so we're going to have to stay in here and take that victory point. Then I'm going to have to move over to the middle. I would suggest the middle. However, there's a bunker. I thought that was going to be an MG bunker. I think the MG bunker would have been a better choice there, as the Germans' opponents, the Allies, only have troops. So bringing up any troops here would be a big problem for that for them. Actually, there is an Su-76 out on the field now for the Russian player, so not too bad. And it looks like the U.S. forces is also bringing out a new, looks like maybe a Jackson tank destroyer. And now going to go right up to the middle after they took this. Now they're going to move over to the middle here. And an MG bunker, I definitely think an MG bunker would have been better, as it would be suppressing these troops now and wouldn't even be able to make it in there. It looks like a mine goes off, takes out that captain, and now he has to get out of there before he dies. Paratroopers now trying to move over, taking this munitions point, going to try and move to the center here. And this is what they need to do. They need to get in the center. Now a ZIS in the center here to try and shoo away these Ostwinds, as they're doing such big damage to all these troops here, and needs to take this and just move forward and get that victory point. Su-76 is barraging this area here, but mostly missing troops. However, if these troops retreat, they may just happen to run into a barrage. Now making another bunker here, and not sure what it's going to be. I'd like to think that it's probably going to be a command bunker, but I'd still like to see an MG bunker, which would be stopping all these troops. None of these troops could be taking that. Su-76 in trouble here. Needs to start backing up and get a shot on that Puma. The main gun is destroyed on the Puma. May lose this Puma. Trying to chase it with these conscripts here, but not going to get it. Just going to run out of steam before they get too close to it. Going to have to retreat out of there. Almost had that Puma. Now trying to battle it out here. This ZIS is pretty much the only hope for anti-armor in the center here. The Jackson tank destroyer is in the back here. Does have long range. Needs to bring up that Su-76 as soon as possible. Just doesn't really have a way to repair it. Where is that engineer? Just now coming in. Just now bringing one in to repair this Su-76. Needs to get on that as soon as possible. Indeed, making an MG here, which I believe is the better choice. He should have got that in the first place. And if he's going to bazooka anything, needs to bazooka this MG bunker, as he doesn't realize just how dangerous this bunker is going to be for him. Could bring up that ZIS. Where'd that ZIS go? He brought it all the way back here to reinforce it. Needs to bring up that ZIS and hit this bunker, as it's only got about, let's see, a little less than half health there. Oh, and hits that ZIS from super long range all the way away. And takes it out, so that's a big, big loss for the U.S. forces, as he really doesn't have anything else to lose. Ostruppen trying to battle it out with this machine gun, but gonna have to run away. There is this Ostwind here coming on in, and needs to retake this, so he's gonna start retaking that now from the Germans, and desperately trying to get to the center here, but just not able to do it, as this machine gun bunker is just suppressing all these troops. And there's so much damage going on in the center here. Also has these flamethrower troops. He's going to repair this, but indeed now hitting it with the ZIS. Going to lose this bunker here. Loses the bunker now. Less suppression in this area, so now the Allies going to have a much easier time trying to take this. Needs to start backing this Su-76 up immediately. Oh, he doesn't get the hit. Missed there with that Su-76. A big loss. Now all these tanks moving in on the U.S. forces and the Russians. Looks like two Ostwinds, two Pumas, and a Jagdpanzer could just move right into the base at this point and just really hammer away at the Allies here. And I think the Allies really aren't going to be able to do it at this point, as the Russian doesn't have too much left, and the U.S. forces really doesn't have much left either. Nothing really to deal with all of this armor here. He does have this rifleman with a bazooka that he picked up from the captain, and may actually destroy this Puma. But that is really just false hope at this point, as there's so much more armor out on the field, and now they have to recover an additional 2 victory points. So down to 4 points here for the Germans. Nail-biting suspense. But I just don't think the U.S. forces are going to be able to get this, as there's just too much stuff. Maybe they could go to the right side and the left side, just split it up. Try and split up the enemy troops here, away from just the center and the left side. Sherman's out on the field for the U.S. forces, but I don't think it's going to be enough, as there's quite a bit out. Even these 2 Ostwinds, they don't do too much to Shermans, but 2 Ostwinds and a Jagdpanzer at the same time could do that. Now Puma moving in. Its rear armor is faced towards that Puma, but now it's turning his tank around. Just doesn't have the troops to be able to stop all of this. Down to 9 points for the U.S. forces. And a GG from the Allies just before their loss. and they lose the game. The Germans are the winner just barely by 4 points, so a really, really excellent game. And I think neither side really played all that wrong. I don't think I can really critique the game too much. I think they just simply got outplayed. I think both sides played really, really well, but it had to come down to one winner, and it was the Axis this game. And I really hope you guys enjoyed this replay, and I will see you guys next time.